Good afternoon. Welcome to Campus Conversations. Today we are going to have our conversation with Dean Jefferson Campbell. I have a couple of announcements before we get started. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead in the chat and you say your name, where you're from, perhaps the year you graduated, and what your focus was. I'm Allison Smalley. I'm a constituent engagement officer in the advancement office. I spend 50% of my time in the fundraising aspect and 50% of my time assisting with alumni events. We are going to mute everybody as they arrive. Not meant to silence you, just to help with feedback issues. And then go ahead throughout the conversation. We want it to be two-way, so you can unmute yourself, raise your hand, or type in the chat if you'd like to converse. And then if you are comfortable, go ahead and turn on your videos. But I did also want to just remind everybody, we do record these sessions. There are some individuals, as I'm sure you can imagine, it happens to you, that you can't attend the day you're planning to. So we like to send out the Zoom recording link afterwards to everybody that registered. So I am going to pass the microphone over to Dean Campbell.
Thank you, Allison. I appreciate the introduction, and thank you everybody for being here today. Good afternoon or good morning, depending which part of the country that you're coming to us from. I know a few of you already are on the West Coast, so I suppose it's only 10 a.m. 9 a.m. for you. So I appreciate you getting your morning cup of joe and joining us today. I have some updates that I'm excited to share with you today about what's going on in the college and what our enrollment is and strategic planning and some fun stuff, some logistical stuff, the Alumni Advisory Board. There's a lot of news to share, and I'm biased, but it's all good news. So these are the kinds of meetings that I like to have. So if you read the invite, there were 4 topics that I suggested that I could address with you all today, and those of you who will watch it on recording, hello, even though I can't see you right now. We have made some pretty incredible progress in just one calendar year with multiple aspects of the College of the Arts and Media, from alumni engagement to development, enrollment, new programs, new school. I continue to be very impressed with the faculty that we have in this college, and you, the alumni, that still hold us near and dear, even though I do find that a lot of you haven't been able to come back in years, and you have great questions about what's going on. So let me start with some good news. In general, CMU's enrollment is up about 4% this year for our incoming class. Now, overall, as a campus, we're down about 152, and that's because we graduated more students than we brought in. And we knew that was going to happen for another year or so. But last year's incoming freshman class and this year's incoming freshman class were the 2 largest ones that we've had in about 7 years. So that's all good news. What does that mean for CAM? Well, College of the Arts and Media, our enrollment is up 8%. So we're actually beating the campus average. And the way things work at CMU in terms of revenue and financial health, it's all based off of student credit hours. So how many students are signing up for our courses, and then how much revenue do we generate per credit? And we get projections in the spring for what things should look like in the fall and the following spring. And I'm very proud to say that we beat our projections by 5%. So we're 5% higher than our enrollment projections were given to us. And that's not insignificant. It's the first time since 2018 that CAM has met or exceeded the student credit hour projections. That may sound pretty dry, but it really determines whether or not we take cuts, whether or not we have reserves for the next year, whether or not we can hire new faculty, whether or not I can invest in the programs immediately. So having that kind of success is pretty important. And to beat it by 5% just to put that in dollars for you, it's about 380,000 extra dollars that we weren't planning on within the college budget. And that's revenue that if we meet spring projections at 100%, that's revenue we get to keep and we get to reinvest into the college and its programs. Um, I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure what alumni receive in terms of communication about the business side of the university and updates, but we have gone through the process of switching the budget models for the campus, and it was collaborative. The deans had multiple opportunities for several hours each opportunity to provide input on their models and their ideas, and I really believe that we were able to come to a situation where CMU is going to be able to cover its expenses. The colleges are going to be able to retain their autonomy in terms of decision making and building future programs. It's not an insignificant thing to be able to say that we had that direct input and then they listened. And so now we're going to have a 3-year budget cycle, which will give us some stability. We can make strategic decisions. And when faculty retire, we'll be able to keep those positions and the cost savings and try to get new positions out of that. It really is a lot of good news right now, especially since CMU has had a lot of bad press in the last 8, 9, 10 years about its enrollment declines and multiple other things that have happened. This is pretty much all good news. As a college, we advertised in 42 different places for our different programs last year as part of an awareness campaign that I launched with the college. We spent about $22,000 on advertising, and we got a lot of bang for our buck out of that $22,000. We did some ad swaps with some organizations to help reduce those costs. So we're advertising at 7 community colleges right now to try to target graduate or undergraduate transfers. We advertised on 50 buses in Detroit for 2 months over the beginning of this summer, with advertisements on the inside of the buses. So people that are sitting there, they have these 4-foot by 11-inch banner ads inside the buses. So we were present for all of those. We advertised with 6 different symphony orchestras, highlighting the faculty from the School of Music who play with those orchestras. So it serves 2 purposes. It gives our faculty to the credit they're due, but it brings attention to that fact to an audience member when they look throughout the orchestra and they say, hey, there's 7 faculty from CMU playing in this awesome orchestra. We had a lot of conference advertisement we did. We sent some folks to different conferences with CMU tabling and booths. One of the big things that we were able to do is Dr. Ed Hink in the Department of Communication and I put together a proposal, and we will be hosting the National Forensics Association annual tournament this year on CMU's campus, which not only gets us all of those high school kids and some college kids coming to our campus and interacting with us, but the National Forensics Association has our logo, our CAM logo, all over their website and all the materials they send out to all the member organizations. And so we didn't even have to pay for that. We just had to put together the conference and host it, which really isn't that heavy of a lift because we wanted to do it anyway. So we were getting a lot of impressions for us just through that association. We have about a half a dozen other partnerships that we're looking for this year. We're maintaining the ones that I just listed, and then we're looking for some other ones because I am still thoroughly convinced that we just need to get the word out more, and our name and our brand need to be more front of mind. They need to just see us a lot more. And it's working. I mean, it's not a coincidence that the faculty are more engaged. They're out there more often spreading the name. More students are showing up. We're getting more inquiries about our programs. I mean, our commercial music degree, we haven't even formally advertised that yet. And I was just informed we've signed 30 majors into that program. And it's only been around for 1 full calendar year. So it's that word of mouth and that information that's going out there. And also just the idea that we have this positive momentum going on in the college and in each of the programs. You know, I am not going to allow, and neither are the department chairs, any of the negative press from the past to affect what we're doing now and in the future. So it's been a success so far, and we are planning some more campaigns. That leads me to the new School of Communication, Journalism, and Media. If you were part of any of the meetings last year, I did a presentation on what we were going to do and how we were going about doing it. And surprisingly, and I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but everything went exactly as we planned in terms of timeline, the results. The faculty were fantastic. They were honest. They came in good faith to discussions. And there were some heated ones, I'm not going to lie. But we were able to get multiple rounds of votes completed, both for the idea of doing this reorganization, for the name of the new unit, and then in the spring, we selected a structure, a governing structure for this new school. The director of the new school is Dr. Heather Polinsky. She was formerly director of the School of Broadcast and Cinematic Arts. Now she is the director of this new school. We have 6 area coordinators. One of the results of this reorganization wasn't just mashing 3 departments together into a new unit. It was, we are exploring growing 2 of our areas, which were already pretty strong, but needed some help. So the graduate programs in both media arts and communication, and then our experiential learning opportunities. So journalism, particularly PR, and IPR had really robust internship opportunities. Journalism had some, and BCA had a good number of them. Com didn't have many at all. And so by creating this new area with a dedicated area coordinator, who happens to be Jim Wojcik, who has many decades of experience with internships and PR, and the reason why that program is so successful with its internships is going to help coordinate developing and managing internships in all of our areas. And we'll be doing this in the arts departments as well, but we're kind of using this as our pilot program for how we can reach out, obtain the internships, and grow them. Because next year, we're hoping to have the new arts administration degree through all the governance process, through academic senate, and have a new hire. And we can launch the arts administration degree either in the fall of 24 or spring of 25. And there are 2 significant internships that are going to be required for the arts administration degree. So it'll be important that we have some sort of infrastructure in the college in place so that the person we hire can come in and everything is really there for them to hit the ground running and start building those relationships as well. When we get that degree online, I'm personally expecting, based off of student interest, parent interest, the field that's growing in arts administration degrees, that we can have anywhere between 80 and 100 new majors in the college after the first 4 years. That's a significant number of students. That would represent about a 10% growth in the college enrollment at this point, and would probably reflect about $120,000 in annual revenue coming from that new enrollment, even with a new hire. So that's a program we're excited about. There are 2 programs in the state of Michigan. One is at Western, and it's not really the same kind of degree that we're looking at. It's theater arts management. We're looking at theater, art and design, and music as part of the suite. And then Eastern Michigan has one as well. It is slightly different than ours, but we're not really worried about having one other undergraduate program. The bonus is there are 2 master's programs in arts administration in this state, one at Michigan State and one at Michigan. And so we're looking at building a partnership with them so that we can make sure that our undergraduate degree is preparing someone for their graduate program, should that person decide to do that after graduation. We'd really like to create a formal partnership with them so that the credits would be accepted and our students would be prepared for further study. So, yet another good thing happening. We had a banner year for development. I've had a lot of meetings with some of you who are in this meeting right now. I have absolutely thoroughly enjoyed getting to meet and know so many of our alums and friends of the college. We had an event in New York City in May. It was the School of Music's event, but we used it as an opportunity to connect with some of our other alums in the New York City area. We're hoping that we can make this an annual or a semi-annual event. It was a concert and it was brilliant. The director of the School of Music, Eric Tucker, has 4 of his former students in his studio currently singing on Broadway. And we somehow found a Saturday where they weren't all singing, or I guess it was a Friday, maybe it was a Saturday. They weren't all performing, and we rented out a space that had a piano and put on a production where the 4 of them got to be featured. We had hors d'oeuvres and drinks, and it was a wonderful event. It was a great time. It was great to see our former students who are making it big out there. And we'll do it again and feature even more of our alums who are in that area. But this was Eric Tucker's brainchild, so it was students from his studio for this one. So that was a really fun event. I would, in the future, like to see us host those events in multiple places around the country on a rotating basis. I would like to do New York and Boston, Chicago, Phoenix, and Los Angeles. And we're going to start making plans for that. It's all, how much we can afford and what we can do. But another good piece of news was that because of the way the university handled its obligation to the Michigan Public Educators Employees Retirement System, we ended up with a little extra money this year in our base budget. And I used half of it for technology in the college because we didn't have a tech budget. And the other big chunk of it I put towards development so that we can start hosting some of these events. They're fun, they're rewarding, but also realistically, it's an opportunity for us to get a return on that investment rather than just spending money. We do have several crowdsourcing campaigns that are, I think, already live, right, Allison? Yeah. Summer theater, one of the BCA equipment funds. There is one for the College of the Arts and Media, which is a gift fund, and that allows us to do cool and interesting projects, support faculty professional development. It's unrestricted funding, so once the money's in there, we can use it for a variety of sources. And I promise you, I'm not going to Tahiti with that money. It's being used for stuff within the college, either students or faculty. One of the things that I have worked with the department heads and directors on for this year is really meaningfully engaging with our students in a social capacity so that the only time we interact with them isn't just in the classroom or for a concert, but they actually get a chance to meet students from other parts of the college. And so that the faculty have an opportunity to intermingle with each other as well, because I think it's not widely known there aren't a lot of opportunities during a week for faculty members just to hang out in the middle of the day and have lunch. There's not even really a space for it. You'd have to go to somebody's office, which is fine, but you got to know them first in order to be able to do that. So we're looking to find ways to create those opportunities for faculty, because typically what happens, we get really great and cool ideas that come out of these interactions. You get two people who aren't in the same department and they happen to be talking about their research interests, and one of them goes, well, you know what? That kind of ties into what I'm doing. And I'll give you a quick example. The Presentation Skills Center is back. It went away for a few years. And if you don't know what it is, it's an office we have in the library being run by two communication faculty that works with students to develop their oral communication skills, helps them get over the fear, helps them learn how to pace themselves, how to gesticulate, how to change your tone of voice and the speed in which you're talking to be an effective communicator, and then actually writing what it is you're going to say to begin with. Here's the cool part. So when I went out and got the funding to bring this back, I wanted to do it the whole way. And so the College of Business was very generous and gave us a big chunk of seed money. And I met with the new executive director of the Presentation Skills Center. And I said, what really cool stuff is out there that wasn't there before? And she started telling me about this piece of software that uses the Oculus headset from Meta, virtual reality headset. And so I gave her the green light. She went and did a bunch of training on it. We bought the equipment, and I went in this Monday for their soft open and I got to try it out. And I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. You put the headset on and you can pre-program it for a classroom, a conference room. You can program it for a huge lecture hall. It can be a very intimate one-on-one setting. And you turn 360 and it looks like I'm in a classroom when I was up there. In fact, I kept thinking I was going to knock the lectern over with my hand while I was talking because it was so real. And you can have a teleprompter there if you would like, but it shows like a virtual laptop that you can interact with like you would with a real one in a lecture or a presentation. And then they put me in the interview room, and this software uses ChatGPT to generate interview questions based on the job that you're looking for. And then it gauges the reaction and interaction you're having with the interviewer. So students can even practice their interview skills with this, and then it gives direct feedback. And then all of it's being displayed for the person who's working with them in the Presentation Skills Center. So the person can see everything that's happening in that interaction and happening. And then when you're done, it gives you all this feedback. It tells you, you looked to the left way too much and you ignored everybody to the right. And it's it's really quite cool. And the provost hasn't had a chance to go see it yet. And I'm really excited because I've asked her for more money. So I'm hoping that'll grease the wheels a little bit. A lot of great stuff. And then development. I won't give you specific numbers, but I will tell you that our cash gifts were up 435% for this year. It was pretty remarkable. And that's thanks to our alums, our former faculty, parents. I mean, really, the wide array of folks who were generous and gave was just impressive and touching. But also not only our cash gifts, but our commitments for future gifts are sort of off the charts as well. So I think the development folks, Christine, Megan, and Allison, are concerned that I think that we're going to knock it out of the park to the tune of 435% every year. But I'm more realistic than that. We had some ground to make up, and we did. So that was the good news. In terms of bad news, there isn't any yet, except for, and this is very tragic, we did lose one of our faculty members 2 days before classes started. We lost a very dear colleague, an accomplished scholar, and just a wonderful man. Dr. Michael Papa passed away 2 days before classes started. He's was from the Department of Communications, spent his entire career doing research and working with groups all over the world to put forward human rights, voting rights, bringing democracy to places, and then serving underrepresented populations. In fact, the project he was currently working on was to bring the right to vote to the women of Sudan, and was working with a couple of international organizations to further that cause. So it was very tragic, and the communication faculty, of course, have had a difficult time to start the semester trying to manage their grief and their feelings while still delivering classes and covering the classes that were now vacated. So that was a very sad time, couple of weeks for us. And of course, still, there are plenty of people, including myself, still going through the grieving process. Michael was a pretty wonderful guy. So it was very sad that happened. So the topics that I suggested for today, I gave you an update on the school. Honestly, there are already some pretty interesting things coming from the reorganization, the ability of faculty to move around within disciplines in the unit. And to be honest with you, it was one of the only ways we were able to cover some of those classes from the tragedy that happened, was we were able to lean into faculty in different departments or areas who could actually teach these classes because they had expertise in it. The social media certificate is back. We're offering that again, and we're in the process of making it a completely online. I'll be honest with you, I was kind of dumbfounded when they brought it to me and it was all in person, but it's a social media certificate. I said, that seems a little counterintuitive. So we're going to be working on that for the next year. We're going to be having conversations about formalizing a sports media degree and also a broadcast media degree. These are topics that have come up several times in the past, but we really feel like right now at this point in time, there are a lot of students asking about a degree. And basically what we're telling them now is, we have all the classes that you would need to prepare for a career in that field, but we don't have the degree. If you come here, we can help you navigate and put these together. That's a hard sell. It's much easier if we just put the degree together and say, yeah, absolutely, we have it. Here are the classes. Here's what it looks like. Here's what you're going to do when you leave. So those are two of the things that are going to be talked about this year, and hopefully we'll make some moves on submitting some proposals to the Academic Senate and the appropriate offices on campus to get that moving forward. So between those two new degrees, the arts administration degree that we're working on, and then the commercial music degree, we could really be talking about a 20% increase in enrollment in the college over the next 2 years. And that's assuming we maintain the enrollment that we currently have, which we are. In fact, we're growing in some areas. The Department of Art and Design is knocking it out of the park. This is the third semester in a row that they have been over 110% of their SCH projections. So there's interest all over campus. And to be honest with all of you, that's one of the things I'm focusing on with the departments, is making sure every student on this campus knows they can be in theater, they can be in band or orchestra or choir, they can take a drawing class or a painting class, they can be in CM Life and MHTV, they can do this stuff, because if you don't tell them, they just assume, well, those are for majors only, and then they don't sign up. And so already, and I'll tell you, the School of Music did a brilliant idea last week on Thursday night. They did an orchestra choir jazz band open house, and they plastered campus and they sent students out advertising it. And basically it was this: if you played something or sang something in high school and want to keep doing it, but didn't think you could, just show up on Thursday night and we're all going to get together and play some music. You don't have to sign up for a credit yet. You don't have to do anything. Let's just play some music. And they ended up getting almost 20 new enrollments in the ensembles just from doing that open house. And I'm sure there'll be a few more in the spring once students, now that they know they can do this. So it's just those small things that add up. I keep saying this to everybody. It's an aggregate. There's no one big thing that will sustain success. It's succeeding a bunch of little things across the whole college, what that will get us there. And so I'm pretty excited about all that good news. Financial is always easier on me because I don't have to deliver really bad news, but also I can tell people who come to me with brilliant ideas, yeah, we can invest in this. Let's get together and figure out how we're going to do it and come up with a plan. That's really something I prefer to do. It's why I went into getting a dean job, is I like to help people do stuff. I like to do my own stuff too, don't get me wrong. But I found out last month when I went back to play with the symphony again after a year off, I got a lot of work to do to get back to where I was. I took a whole year off playing with the symphony and jumped back in with Jurassic Park. And I had some practicing, but that's not a bad thing. So one of the things on here is information about alumni homecoming week and alumni events. I've challenged the department heads and directors that instead of just focusing on one thing that happens on Saturday when there's about 900 things happening on campus, let's look at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and do some things within the college. So alums who are within driving distance, or maybe they're going to fly in on Wednesday and looking for something to do on Thursday, that we have offerings. And so I have confirmations from art and design and music, which I'll share with you. And then I know the School of Communication, Journalism, and Media and Theater are also working on some events, but they didn't want to share them because it's not totally confirmed yet. So for art, on Thursday at 6:30, they're doing something they're calling the Printathon, where alumni and current students can join to design, carve, and print 5x7 relief prints. Each participant will create 15 prints. All materials are provided by us. We'll have snacks and a collage making station as well. And if you'd like to trade prints at the end of the event, you'll submit 10 of yours, and in return, you'll take 10 that are an aggregate of everyone else that was there. So it's an opportunity just to get together, make some art, talk to each other, hang out, have some snacks. I thought it was a great idea. These are the types of things that I'm hoping for. And then the School of Music on Saturday, and theirs revolve around Saturday for a lot of reasons. They're still doing concerts on Wednesday and Thursday night, which are already on the website, but they're doing a coffee hour at the stadium at 8. The marching band rehearsal is open to the public at 9. The homecoming parade obviously is at 11, which is involving the marching band. And then the event that we're hosting as a college is at 12:30. The college is hosting a reception on their new outdoor patio. A generous gift from a donor to the School of Music resulted in this beautiful outdoor space right outside the School of Music. It's got a small performance venue built into it. It's got tables built into it, Wi-Fi and everything. We just did the opening of it last week, and it's really a great spot. But the marching band's going to come by and do a performance of their halftime show during the reception. And then there'll be a small student jazz combo there performing. And it's just really a place for us to gather. There's a little over 100 alums have already registered to be there for that reception, but there's still plenty of room. So if you're going to be in the area and you want to come on out, you can register through the School of Music, or you can just show up. We're taking all comers at this point. We'll have food and drinks, and it's really just a gathering. Listen to the marching band up close. They'll be in full uniform. So it'll be a lot of fun for that. I know that the other units are planning on doing some guest lectures and some other events as well. But again, they didn't want to mention anything until they had some confirmation, which I can appreciate, because I'd hate to have to tell you and then go back and go, yeah, about that. We're not really doing that anymore. So the Alumni Advisory Board, most of you, I'm assuming, got the email, I think back in May, and then another one in July, and then another one in August, asking for nominations for the board. It was an overwhelming response for a first time attempt. I had 15 open slots and had 33 applicants for that. Typically with these things, with a board that size, I'm still calling and begging people to apply. I can't give all 15 names because there are two folks that are double checking calendars before they end their commitment with me. But I do have 13 of the 15 locked up, and I'm very excited. We have an incredible group of folks with varied experiences professionally and across 4 decades of CMU attendance, undergraduates and graduate students alike. It's a very diverse board. I'm absolutely thrilled at the folks who applied, and even those who are not ultimately chosen. And I've contacted all of them and told them this. Those who weren't chosen to serve on the main board for this time around, I'm still going to need to ask. There are going to be subcommittees or one-off events and projects that we're going to need help and support and expertise on. And I hope that not being chosen for this first one won't give you a bad taste in your mouth, and that you'll still be willing to help us out, because my intention is to have this board for a very long time. I was really surprised we didn't have one when I got here to the College of the Arts and Media. I've worked with advisory boards throughout my career as an academic and as an administrator. And I found that the kind of guidance and information we can receive from outside folks who still love us but are incredibly successful in their individual fields is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on it. But we have actors, we have directors and producers, we have journalists, we have TV personalities, we have fundraisers, we have marketers, we have PR professionals, we have folks who work in DEI administration on college campuses. There's just a very wide range of life and professional experiences being represented in the board membership. And I will be sending out an email either tomorrow or Monday with the entire membership, short bios. We'll create a web page. That group will have its first meeting on October 13th. We have sort of a full day planned because there's stuff to talk about, including the bylaws for this new board. I'm going to provide them with templates so they don't have to do it from scratch. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. But the idea is that I would really like the board to help with direction in developing new curricula in particular, making sure that what we're doing is preparing students for the career that they're going to be looking for when they leave here, but also advice and direction on our fundraising ideas. And of course, I have 3 wonderful development officers in here. It's not to undermine their work. It's to come at it from a different angle and to help support what they're doing. The networks that the advisory board members have are networks we don't necessarily have connections to. And then also advocacy is another important part of the work of the advisory board, sharing the good news about the university and their professional networks on their social media. We've spent a lot of time this summer rebuilding our entire concept of social media in the college and how we're going to do it to make it more effective and actually have updates. I got 2 departments that haven't updated their Facebook page since 2016. That's just not going to work. So we're gonna be across all platforms, and we're gonna start using LinkedIn, which the college has never used before either, as one of our social media platforms. It's really one of the easier ways to contact professionals in the world rather than Facebook. So there's a lot of stuff going on, is what I'm trying to tell you. And the advisory board is going to be really invaluable for getting feedback and direction and making those connections. And honestly, being there to talk to me and say, what the hell are you doing? Why would you do that? And I'm hoping that I can count on that level of honesty from them. I would say 80% of the board does not live in the state of Michigan. So there was interest from all over, coast to coast, up and down. That's also encouraging to me. because it's going to help me also. This is selfish when I'm trying to plan those events in those cities that I was talking about earlier. If we have someone close by that can help wrangle some alums and get the word out that we're going to be hosting an event rather than just a bunch of cold calling, it really helps development when we have connections already and we don't just have to spend all day on the phone begging people to show up for free food and a cocktail. And it's more than that, I know that, but let's see, update on the strategic planning process. This is the part that I know you're all looking forward to. You're excited to hear about strategic planning. Allison, do you happen to have that slide deck handy that I sent you this morning? If not, I can load it up on my end.
I do not, and I don't know that I got it. I am
Well,
so sorry.
I don't
Otherwise,
think
I would have had it ready to rock.
you need to apologize at all. I can take this moment. If you have any questions about the dump of information I just gave to you, I'm more than happy to take questions while I'm loading up this slide deck. Gonna have to unmute probably. Well, either I was thorough with my explanation or everybody fell asleep during the 25 minutes I was talking. I don't want to make any assumptions there.
I think we do have a question about the sports media major. Oh, here in the chat, Jefferson.
Let me see here. Is that sports broadcast production or a sports journalism major reporting? Christopher, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, we're looking at both. We would really like to be able to, when we hire a new photojournalism faculty member, ensure that experience in sports photography is part of their resume so that we can lean into that and help develop that major. In terms of sports broadcasting, that is definitely something that we're going to be leaning into with that degree. So the idea and the hope is that we will have the faculty, the expertise, and the resources to be able to offer both, because I know those are in students' minds, two very different things. And we're trying to be able to accommodate what we can in order to drive more interest and get more folks to engage with us. All right, I finally found it. Nope. Did I miss it? Was there another question there? Or was that? Oh, Christopher, did I answer your question there, or did you have a follow-up or any other information that you needed or would like to have? I apologize. I'm usually better about having all my stuff ready.
Nope, that's what he was looking for. Perfect.
Jefferson, I don't want to interrupt if you find the slide deck, but the other day we were meeting with an alum and you shared about the student response to coming out to participate in a student organization. I don't recall exactly what student organization it was, but I thought maybe you could share that as well.
Yeah, real quick. Larry, I see you have your hand up there. So BCA has two very large student organizations that revolve around the television station and the two radio stations. And typically, when they have their startup week activities for students to come who are interested and want to be a part of it, they get around 70 to 85 students show up. And this year they had 182 and 186 students show up respectively. So, I mean, that's double. That's not a small increase. That's a massive amount of students that found out that this is for anybody that shows up and wants to do the work and be a part of it. And they did, and they're all engaged. And now the problem is that we have too many. So that's a problem. That's a good problem to have, but we're okay having that problem. But it was just really encouraging when I got that email, and the faculty member was so proud and excited. He said, I don't normally give updates on how many students show up to these events, but this one was so off the charts that I just felt like I needed to share it. And I was like, I'm glad you did, because I'm going to tell the alums about it just to show them that, you know, we're not just relevant. I hear that word a lot. We want to keep arts and media relevant. I was like, no. I don't want to just be relevant. I want to be at the front. I want when people think of CMU, we're at the top of the list of things that they're thinking about. And I really don't think it's that heavy of a lift, to be honest with you. See, this is why you can't give me control of anything here. Larry, what question can I field for you?
Well, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I was wondering, with all this good news and our desire to share it on behalf of CMU, um, about a week ago, I shared some good news or just information that you had shared before about CMU being the same cost for out of state that it is in state, and no one really knows about that.
Yeah.
And so I threw that up on my story on Instagram, but it looks janky because I'm just typing in letters.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. And with, something that I captured from CMU on the background. But still 1,000 people saw it. And I think a number of us would love to share all this good stuff. I'm wondering if maybe there's templates, plates that we could be sent that we could throw this information up and just continue to grow the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, let me talk to my my marketing and social media person here in the college about it. Also, if you're on, this is to everybody, not just you, Larry, if you're not subscribed to the college's social media feeds, you should. Like I said, we've redone everything. We're posting far more frequently with lots of good news, and we're also posting things coming out of every department. So it's not just something from my office. You'll catch the news coming out of a department that maybe you're not affiliated with, but it's still pretty cool stuff. But yeah, Larry, let me look into that and see what we can do about it. I don't know why we couldn't, but I'm sure there's some rule that we'll have to address and find out about. There's always a rule.
Jefferson, I will include on the slide deck that I used at the beginning, there was a QR code that just sent everyone to all the social media page for the entire university. So I can send that out in the email so everyone can connect to
Great.
CAM.
Yeah, honestly, we already have 85 social media posts prepped and ready to go that we're releasing on an every 3-day timeline. And so that list will continue to grow as we're sending current stuff out. That was part of our plan and part of what we needed, because like I said, we had multiple departments not posting anything anywhere. I was like, how's anybody supposed to know about this cool stuff if you don't tell them about it? And by the way, Larry, thanks for sharing that. I do appreciate it. And yes, for anybody who is new to one of these meetings, CMU has in-state tuition for anybody in the United States. Any undergraduate in the US can come to CMU for the same price as someone who lives in Michigan. I think it's a big deal. Andrea, I see you have a hand up.
Yes, I just have a thought. When you were talking about the people who about faculty and students not having an ability to interact with one another from different disciplines, I just thought about that great theater on the side, and it would be super cool if like the theater department hosted that. You could have all the techies, at a time when that room was not being in use. You could just have a bunch of student volunteers who would set the space. It would be really cool for that small department to have kind of ownership in a cool initiative.
That is a great idea. That is a great idea. Now I just got to convince theater it's a good idea. No, it's
my number.
and it's geographically a good space in the college footprint. I mean, art design people might have to take a little walk, but everyone else is within 2 minutes of theater on the side. So Tots would be a great place. Thank you for that suggestion. I probably wouldn't have even I wouldn't have thought about that, quite honestly.
Yeah, you could institutionalize it a little bit. It could be like every once a quarter, and so then people would know about it, and theater they could make it cool and poppy and showcase themselves a little bit, but yet provide this great opportunity for the entire school.
It's a great idea. I'm going to follow up with that on with Keely this afternoon before she gets too deep into the weeds for the show she's directing this fall. I'm pretty sure she's the one doing cabaret, so she's got a lot of work. Plus, she's teaching like 5 classes this semester. It's crazy. That's a heavy load, by the way. 3 is typical for a department head. 2 is typical. And so she's doing 5 classes, directing a show, and being department chair this semester. She wanted it all, by the way. I did not do that to her. I tried talking her out of it, actually, but she would not budge on it. She was insistent. Let me show you this slide deck, and I know everybody loves that, but I promise it's pretty short, and you may or may not be aware. I'm not really sure how much CMU is communicating about the business of the campus, but we have been going through strategic planning as a campus for the last year. And the final draft is going to be presented to the Board of Trustees in 9 days. And in fact, I was in a 4-hour retreat yesterday putting final touches on said strategic plan, and that is the hopefully last of about 9 of those 4-hour meetings I have been to in the last year. So if you get the willies by strategic planning, I'm there with you, but it is really important, and a good strategic plan should really drive how we spend our money, how we're assigning tasks to staff and faculty, and what our future direction is going to be. And I do think that CMU's new strategic plan is very forward-looking. It's looking at new ways of doing things. So it's time for Cam to do a strategic plan. We're actually a year overdue, but because I was new last year, and because I decided that we needed an alumni advisory board who should be part of the strategic planning process, I pushed things out for a year. And add on top of that, we were reorganizing 3 departments into 1 new school. I didn't want all of that happening at one time. It would muddle the strategic planning process. So let me get to my slide deck. The 3 themes are adapt, innovate, and grow that I'm pushing forward to the faculty and staff. And so you can read, in order to remain successful and relevant, we must be willing to adapt and grow without abandoning our core pedagogical and curricular principles. And that's important to me because a lot of times when we get in these conversations, we come up with these great ideas, but they're not really going to work with the majority of how faculty see the university as an academic institution. So we have to have flexibility to be able to innovate and have pilot programs and new degrees and new ideas while still not just abandoning everything that we know works. The Socratic method of instruction with a dynamic instructor is very effective. The Socratic method of instruction with a less than dynamic instructor is usually where we get all the complaints. And Socratic method is a teacher standing in the front, sharing information with a large group of people. Updates to existing programs, new degrees, certificates, course offerings, and exploring more online course offerings and programs is at the heart of this. And we have to be open to all discussion. We're not just going to shut something down because we don't like it, or it scares us, or we tried it in the past and it didn't work. We're not going to shut any of those discussions down. We're going to embrace them, and we're going to vet them thoroughly, because typically there's good ideas even in a mass of weird ones. And we want to make sure we're giving everything an equal opportunity here. We're going to be looking at 4+1 programs. And what that means is an undergraduate and a master's degree within 5 years. And the undergraduate program, typically the 4th year, students are already taking graduate level courses so that it dovetails into a master's degree. It's a great way to recruit without losing students and currently enrolled students going into a master's degree program. With a strong program, this kind of continuity, especially for research purposes, can be very valuable to students and for faculty. Recruitment and retention must be a focus in the immediate future, especially retention. We're really going to be focusing on retention this year and increasing what we're doing to keep students here, to keep them excited, to keep ourselves excited. Typically, students reflect the attitude of the professor. And so just reminding faculty, we have a pretty good gig here. We get paid pretty decently, and we get to show up and talk about the things we love already every day. I mean, that's a pretty good gig. So it's time to develop a new strategic plan. They should revolve around self-reflection and goal setting. So we start with who are we? And the next step is who do we want to be? And then the last step is how do we get there? And then actually the final step is, did we get there? We must be able to answer those questions. Who are we? Who do we want to be? How do we get there? And how do we know that we got there? So we're going to align with the new strategic plan of CMU, but honestly, that's not going to be hard at all. The strategic plan for CMU is realistic, it's honest, and it's very visionary. And that's exactly what we're hoping for within the college. So we're going to form a steering committee, faculty, staff, and students who are going to basically drive this. I will, of course, be there in the meetings, but I find it far more effective in these kinds of processes that affect everybody for the long term if we make sure that they're the ones driving the bus. It's the exact same thing we did with the new School of Communication, Journalism, and Media. I was there providing the guardrails and information, but I allowed the faculty to get through that process so that the decisions that were being made were their decisions. The Alumni Advisory Board is definitely going to be participating in this, both as advisors, as is in the name, and then also from those who have already been through strategic planning processes, providing information and guidance to myself and department heads and directors. I will be visiting departments directly, frequently during their department meetings as a mechanism for getting feedback and discussion on the items for strategic plan. And I'm trying to do it this way for two reasons. Number one, the number of meetings that people are typically in is outrageous, and I don't want to add a lot of more meetings. Number two, these meetings are already on the books. I know that this large group of people is already going to be in one spot at one time, so we don't have to add an extra meeting or try to corral people and find a space and get the word out. It's already there. So we're going to be going to department meetings to do the discussions, get the feedback, get proposals. And then we're also going to have quite a few student sessions, both virtual and in person, so that students can see what's being worked on, provide feedback from their perspective, tell us, you know, look, that's a good idea, but from our perspective, that's not going to work, or it doesn't move the needle for me. So we're going to focus on three areas: awareness, adaptability, and investment. Making sure that we're bringing awareness and intentionally, not just through advertising, but through everything that we're doing. When we're going out on a band tour, let's make sure everyone knows it. Let's make sure the places we're going to are impactful, going to bring attention to your groups. And I'm talking like the Midwest Band and Orchestra Convention in Chicago. We should be going to those types of things. The Band Directors National Conference, we should be going to those kinds of things. Because even though they're not direct recruitment, when all of the other college faculty know what we have and how good we are, it brings the right kind of awareness and conversations that we want to be having with people. They immediately see us as a higher level, that we gain respect and reputation. And then investment. How are we spending our money and our time? It's really important, because I tell you what, large organizations are really good at spending time and money on things that don't ever happen. And honestly, we can't do that. We don't have the capacity to engage in things that aren't going to move us forward. And so we need to be careful about what we pick, but we need to talk about it and vet it. And so the strategic plan is going to include a lot of that over the next 5 years. Now, this is sort of what the timeline is going to look like. Phase one is where we are right now. We're finalizing the alumni board, the advisory board. I have the departments working in their department heads working in their departments on those questions. We're looking at the university initiatives and gathering data. And then I'm in the process of putting together the steering committee. Starting in November, we'll really dig in and start forming our input groups. I'll start soliciting feedback based on some frameworks. I got the strategic plans from like 6 other universities that have the same suite of programs or are relatively the same size, or maybe they're in the same geographic region as we are. And so we can look at what other people are doing and saying, and we can both use that as a template and a guide, but it can also provide direction for us to say, hey, look, they've got a good plan, but there's a gap here. There's a blind spot that they didn't see for something that can be done. Let's move into that spot. Let's take over this area. Or we can say, look, here are our competitors in journalism and media. What are they doing that we're doing, and what aren't they doing that we can do? And let's lean into that, so that we're not just always casting a wide net and trying to do everything at a level that we frankly can't afford. Let's find the places that we're already good at, that we want to be good at, and we can be good at, and let's put everything into those places. So that'll be that section of things. Phase 3, which is spring, so January through April, that's the majority of the work. That's collecting all of the comments. That's collecting all of the information and putting it together, aggregating it into a document, and really starting to formulate the goals and strategies at the department level. We come up with a draft plan, and then we start identifying goals out of that draft plan. And then in April and May, we vote. We conclude the strategic planning process. We publish it for the world to see, for alums, students, faculty, and anyone who wants to visit. And then we start with our measures. Starting 12 to 18 months out, we start looking, okay, are we on track? Are we doing the things that we said we needed to do or wanted to do? If we're not, do we need to adjust the goal or do we need to adjust our strategy? So we're going to be checking in at regular intervals. In truth, I'll be doing it every 3 months. But as a college, we'll do it at least minimum every year. The board will probably be looking at it every 6 months. So the idea is that by the end of the spring semester, so graduation is the first week of May, we should have a published strategic plan that will last us for the next 5 years. And of course, this has to go through several different vetting steps here at the university, the provost office primarily. But I also know that we have full support of the provost, and she already knows what the process and plan is. She agrees. She just did this at a campus level. That poor person, she came to here CMU on August 1st and immediately started a campus-wide strategic plan. And she's not exhausted. I have no idea how, but she is boundless energy embodified, and she's happy as a clam with what we have, and she should be. But she's really been on it. And I warned her, I said, I don't know if I have that same level of energy and enthusiasm for strategic planning, but I will give it the old college try. In truth, I do like it because it is a shared vision for what we want to be and how we want to get there. And that stuff is very important to me. I'm excited about it. So there will be departmental goals and there will be college goals. And the goal is to meet all of them, which I think we will. And I know where I'm running up on time. I got like 3 more minutes left, so I don't want to keep rambling on about strategic plans unless you have a question, in which case I am happy to answer the best that I can. And yes, I do have staff support for both the board and the strategic plan. Anybody have any questions, comments? Are you crazy? Christopher, yes.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for talking about all of this stuff. I'm really passionate about it as well. I was one of the people who applied to be on the advisory board, didn't get it, super ready to help in any other way that I can. I do remember your kind email sending me that I didn't make it this time, but subcommittee work, let me know. The one question I want to ask you is about new majors, particularly in journalism departments, PR department, that type of area, because that's where I'm an alum at.
Yeah.
Is it your thinking or the college's leadership thinking that when thinking of new majors to offer to students in that arena, a lot of what could or would be offered depends on the existing knowledge and expertise of the faculty we have here, or if you were to come up with a major that you feel is necessary, do you have the resources available to go get new faculty members to sort of staff that new academic discipline? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And to quote Hamlet, there's the rub.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 60-40. 60% of what's the expertise and availability of current faculty that would apply to said program, and then 40%, do we have the money and can we assign it to this to get a new position? And so we've had quite a few retirements in the last year in the college, and so that does free up some salary savings for us. So I am approaching it with Heather Polinsky, the director, as in, if we absolutely need a new position, you need to demonstrate that to me. What would they teach? What would they be doing? And then I will sell it. I will sell it to the provost and I will go get the money for this. But if we don't need that, if we have the current existing expertise, availability, and enthusiasm, then let's just build it with what we have. And as that program grows and generates revenue for the college, we'll add a faculty member to that program when we have the funding on our own, and I don't have to go ask for it. So it's a little bit of a mix, and I'm not trying to dodge the question. That's the actual conversation I had with Heather 2 days ago about this, is that if we can build it and do it right and do it well with who we have, then let's go ahead and do it. But if we determine we should really have someone else here who has better expertise or experience in this particular part of that degree, then let me go get that. I don't want to do anything just piecemeal for the sake of saying it's done, because it always withers. you disappoint students who you got all excited about something, and then you either can't offer something or you're canceling classes, and that's just awful. That's the worst way to go about it. It's the same thing with the Presentation Skills Center. We were either going to bring it back and do it absolutely right and knock it out of the park, or we weren't going to do it. So it's the same thing with either of those degrees. Now, the broadcast journalism degree, we can do that with who we have. We have the expertise, we have the capacity, we have the facilities. The sports media one, we're probably going to need a faculty member, quite honestly. Whether that's a tenure track faculty member or a term faculty member remains to be seen. But that's how those conversations go down, is we look at what we want to do, and then we figure out, okay, do we need another person in order to pull this off?
That answers my question. Thank you.
You bet. It's basically nonstop negotiation with the department to the department chair to me, and then me to the provost, and then all the way back down again. I actually proposed a plan to the provost, which she hasn't said no to yet, by which we could hire new people by borrowing against cost savings from future retirements. So it's kind of taking out a loan, but we know for a fact that at some point, faculty member XYZ is going to retire, and they make this much money. So there will be this much left over after we hire a new person. So can I have that leftover now, borrow against that, so that I can get a new position I desperately need right now to grow a program? And she's amenable to that idea. She hasn't said yes yet, but she's at least entertaining the idea of being able to do that. That would be a huge help for Cam. I need a new graphic design person. I got too many majors. That's a good problem, but I gotta have another faculty member. Any other questions? Not even about strategic plan. It can be about anything that I've talked about, or any thoughts or concerns you have. If you just want to say, hey, you're kind of crazy, that's fine too. Won't be the first time I've been told that. I am so enthusiastic about being in this college. Anybody that's met me has probably picked up on that. You might have questioned whether or not it was genuine. It is. And, you know, part of my job is dealing with things that are not so fun sometimes, but that does not diminish my interest. Just last week, we had the Alumni Awards ceremony as a campus, and they have this thing called 10 within 10. It's 10 alums who have graduated within 10 years who are being recognized for their individual achievements. And I love this event. I went last year. We had 3 from Cam last year. This year we had 1, but here's the thing. The woman who was recognized by the College of Science and Engineering for her amazing work with students with disabilities at Microsoft, developing gaming controllers and gaming for students with disabilities, she spent her entire speech talking about her experience in the speech and debate team in my college. She didn't even talk about artificial intelligence. She talked about speech and debate and how important it was. And then another person from Science and Engineering, who is a broadcaster, a meteorologist in Chicago for their #1 TV station, same thing. She came up and talked about her experience working at News Central and being in front of the camera. And I was like, yeah, I want more credit for that. Just so you know, I told Marcy, the chair of the vice president of alumni, you got to throw us a bone here and include that in there. And it wasn't just those 3. There were others that talked about some experiences that we offer in CAM as well. And so I'm putting out there as much as I can. And by the way, the woman who does the AI work for Microsoft, who credited speech and debate, she's going to help us with our crowdsourcing campaign. Allison, this is news to you. I haven't even had a chance to tell you yet. She's going to shoot a little 20-second video for us, encapsulating how important speech and debate was to her career and getting her started and everything else. So trying to do that also. Anyway, I've gone over my time by 4 minutes. I'm sorry to do that. This is supposed to be coffee, and if you've had that much coffee, you're going to be shaken in about an hour and a half. So I apologize for going over my time. But again, I get so excited talking about the great things in this college that it's hard for me to shut up sometimes. I apologize. But if you do have any other questions, you can always email me directly. My email address is on the webpage for the college. By the way, if you haven't noticed, we did redesign the entire website. Information is there that was never there before. There's a big alumni section that we've blown up. The new school has its own website and experiential learning. We're trying to be as accommodating to people outside of the university as possible. But with that said, thank you all very much for your time. I genuinely appreciate it. And I am always welcome for a meetup, a phone conversation, a Zoom meeting, or an email. I'm never going to be disappointed by that. And I hope to see all of you at some point in the next year, whether it's where you are or where we are. You're always welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jefferson. We have, I will send out a survey and a link to the recording to everybody as well. So have a great day. And then if you're in Michigan, enjoy the beautiful weather we have left. See you later.